of Daniel once again. All right. The reason I'm going to go over it again is because, yes, there are questions about it. All right. I've been questioned on, did Jesus die at 34, 31? And from doing the math, what I got was Jesus died at age 30 or 31 because it's 27 AD plus 3.5 years. So that'll give you 30 to 31 years of age, right? But yes, people said, "Oh, I thought he died in 34 AD," which you know it can also be true. But when I do the math, it comes out to be he started his ministry at 27 AD, and then we add 3.5 years. That's 30, or that is, yeah, 30 or 31 years of age, right? But I could be miscalculating by, let's say, Jewish year. I believe 360 days out of the year instead of 365. I mean, I could be miscalculating on that. That could have been not calculated in, and that would have probably pushed it to about 34 AD. But when you do the math, because the main number that we need to look at is 490 years. So when we look at Daniel chapter 9, verse 24, it says 70 weeks are determined. That's 70 weeks. Like I said, that's 70 times 7, right? 70 weeks is 70 weeks is 70 years. All right. So it's gonna be 70 years times 7, and that's gonna give you 490 years. All right. So now we can either calculate it the way I calculated in my video, which I started from uh, the year of Artaxerxes, which was 457 BC. So we can either do that again, start from 457 BC, and then subtract 490, and then account for year zero, and that'll give us, I believe, 27 AD. That'll give us 27 AD. So we can do it that way, come out with 27 AD, or what we can do is take Jesus' age, 34 AD, right, and then subtract 490 years off that, and then it'll bring us to what, four about 454, 453 BC, and then right there we can't really find a significance because we have to account for when was the decree given to build Jerusalem. So it makes sense for it to be 457 BC, right? So the decree to build Jerusalem was 457 BC, and then we subtract the 490 years from the 70 weeks of Daniel. And the reason I said Jesus died at age 30 or 31 is because it makes sense. All right. Now, like I said, I could be miscalculated by maybe 360 days out of 360 days in a year type calendar or something like that, like the Jewish calendar. So, I mean, that could be an account, but 457 BC is where that starts. All right, now another correction that I would like to make is the very last set of 7 years and the 70 weeks of Daniel. I was doing my research and people disagree. Like a lot of people disagree that the last 3.5 years is, so I put in my video, the 3.5 years goes all the way to when Stephen was stoned. All right, Stephen proclaimed Jesus Christ died on the cross for our sins, and they didn't really like to hear that, so they stoned him. All right, and that's when Jesus started using Paul, started the ministry of the Gentiles. All right, that's when Paul is introduced. All right, and then he goes through his thing where he persecutes the church, and then he has a experience where he sees Jesus and Jesus reveals himself to him, and then he turns to Christ, and then he starts preaching to the Gentiles. All right, and I put that was in 34 AD. All right, and that's where the other 3.5 years were. So from doing research, yes, I did see that. Like, hey, 34 AD is when Stephen got stoned. But I was looking at other research that differ from that. People disagree with that. Like, hey, that doesn't refer to 34 AD. That actually refers to post tribulation. So people want to say like the last 3.5 years haven't been accounted for yet. That they haven't been accounted for yet. All right, so that is huge. The last 3.5 years have not been accounted for. So seeing that, it says it's pretty much from my research, it's pretty much saying that the 70 weeks prophecy only goes to 69 and a half, which is when Jesus died on the cross. And then the other half has not been like accounted for yet. There's been a pause, and that's going to be post tribulation. All right. Now I'm just going to read and start reading, start breaking it down. All right. So Daniel chapter 9, verse 24. 70 weeks are determined. So the angel Gabriel is talking to Daniel here. All right. So he's telling him the vision. 70 weeks are determined, which is 490 years, for your people and your holy city to finish the transgressions, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity. That's Jesus dying on the cross. All right. To bring an everlasting righteousness, to seal up vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Now, to anoint the most holy could be the temple, or that's pretty much what it can mean. So remember, when we're doing a prophecy, like we're just trying to get as accurate as possible here. All right. So now we go 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and rebuild Jerusalem, starting from the command to restore Jerusalem. So we accounted for Artaxerxes' decree in 457 BC. So it tells us from that date, which that's the date that it just makes sense. That's the date that makes sense. 457 BC to restore and build Jerusalem. All right, the command to restore and build Jerusalem. That's the key word there. Command to restore and build Jerusalem. Now, next is until Messiah, the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again. So we're going to separate 7 weeks and 62 weeks, and that's going to count for 69 total weeks. All right, which is 483 years. All right, so we're going to take away 7 years from 490. And then now we got to account for that last year, the 70th year. That's the important year. So now we accounted for 69. And from my research, it says the 7 weeks is to build Jerusalem. So that'll be 49 years, 7 times 7. And in 62 weeks, the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublesome times. And after the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off. So after the 69 weeks, Jesus dies on the cross. The Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and sanctuary. The end it shall be with a flood, and till the end of war, desolation are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. All right, so they're saying that's when the Antichrist, he promises 7 years of peace, and then halfway through he decides no. All right, so that there's a huge debate on that. Like there's huge like, did this happen already, or are we waiting for it to happen? So there's a huge like, and I was doing my research, and I was like, man, like, all right. So I just keep going back and forth, reading this. All right, did the last 3.5 years happen already? We know Jesus died on the cross the first 3.5 years. All right, of the 70th week, but we don't know the last 3.5 years. Was that when Stephen got stoned, or are we still waiting for that? Is that when the Antichrist changes his mind and does not live up to the peace that he promises for 7 years? So that is what's huge, right? So just I just want to clarify, like, hey, yeah, I read the prophecy, I go through it, and some of this it is very hard to understand. I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard to understand. So I had to do my research outside. Like, what do other people think? Like, man, there's two different people think different about this. All right, so let me see. And after 62 weeks, which that's gonna count for 69 total weeks, which is 69 years times 7, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself, and the people of the prince who was to come shall destroy the city and sanctuary. 27. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week for the last year. But in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice offerings, and on the wing of the abomination shall be one who makes desolate. So in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. So to me, that's Jesus dying on the cross. All right. The last 7 years, halfway in, when he's, like I said, he's 30 to 31 years of age, dies on the cross. On the wing abomination shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out onto desolate. All right, so I'm just trying to break this down. Like this is it's actually pretty challenging. All right. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. Confirm a covenant. That sounds, I know the Antichrist is supposed to make a covenant for 7 years, and then halfway through that, he's supposed to like pretty much trash the covenant. Like no peace covenant. Like we're gonna make peace, and there's a covenant for 7 years, and then halfway through, I changed my mind. So I know the Antichrist is supposed to do that. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to the sacrifice and offerings, and on the wing of the abomination shall be. So an end to sacrifice and offering. So to me, that sounds like Jesus. He shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. All right, so that's where the confusion comes from. So he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, for the last 7 years of the 70th week. All right, so we could take that two ways. That is Jesus confirming the 70th week. Hey, he's going to die for our sins. He shall confirm a covenant for many for 1 week, the last 70th year, which goes from Jesus dying on the cross all the way to Stephen getting stoned. We could take it that way, or we could take it as the Antichrist. The last week, he promises us, hey, there's a peace treaty for the last 7 years. And then halfway through it, he's going to say, nope. He's going to pretty much, like I said, trash it. He shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering, and for the wing of abomination shall be one who makes desolate, even into the consummation which is determined, is poured out on the desolate. So I mean that is that's a lot of information right there, man. And after 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not from himself. So that's 69 weeks. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and its sanctuary. So destroy the city and the sanctuary. So destroying the city and the sanctuary. So that's the temple getting destroyed, which Jesus did. How's everybody? God bless. Good night, bro. How's it going, man? So that's the temple being destroyed. Jesus did tell us that the temple is going to be destroyed. So really, it's the time period. All right. When we read Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 to 27, like is the time period. We're trying to get that time period down. All right. And also, we're trying to determine, did this happen already or did it not happen? Now, for me reading this, I want to say this is Jesus died on the cross, after 3.5 years of the 70th year. So that's how I interpret this, man. But like I said, that I did research, and other people want to say like this hasn't happened yet. This is the Antichrist. Like that is huge. That's a huge But for me, from what I've seen, it's hey, that's Jesus Christ dying on the cross, 3.5 years into the 70th week. All right. And then Stephen getting stoned 34 AD on the other 3.5 years. All right. That makes sense to me. But there is a few things here that I guess doesn't make sense. It says, shall destroy the city and sanctuary. So that is pretty much the temple getting destroyed, and end shall be with flood. So to me, that could also mean when Jesus died on the cross, like the temple and all that, like was done. Like that's remember there was like the earthquake after Jesus died on the cross, and it split, the temple split, shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Until the end of war, desolations are determined. So the war of desolation. All right, so that's another thing. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. So man, to me that just sounds like Jesus. To me, that sounds like Jesus right there. Like the 70th week sounds like Jesus confirming that covenant, not the Antichrist. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offerings. That sounds like Jesus dying on the cross. So I'm gonna confirm that is Jesus dying on the cross. All right, 3.5 years in, he dies on the cross. That's what I'm gonna say. It brings an end to shall be able to shall destroy the city and sanctuary. Man, that is like, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. So it's just breaking that down. Like, so if you want to challenge, I challenge you to break down Daniel chapter 9 verse 24 all the way to through 27, like breaking that down. Like, if you want to challenge, break that down. That's actually one of the hardest ones to break down in the Bible. And actually, even if you go through 10, chapter 10, that's a tough one. I was reading the New Testament earlier in the week, and it's easy. Like the New Testament, like I was like, wow, finally something more easier. Like after going through Daniel, the prophecies, man, that is like cake, to be honest. But Jesus comes, dies for our sins, like easy. And then also there's the Gospels. So I mean, it's very repetitive. But when you go to Daniel, it's like prophecy. When you go into the prophecies, it's like, did it happen already? Did it not happen? What time period can we get out of this? What does this mean? Like little words, like you just breaking it down and just like, man. And then you're looking for other references to see, like, do they confirm what I'm saying? Or do they have like, this is for real. So I just want to come live just to, try to set the record straight. Like, hey, some of this it's pretty much, it's like all over the place. Like it's very, prophecy. You're just trying to break it down. Also, I wanted to confirm that, hey, people said Jesus died 34 AD. Hey, maybe the math, according to how many days in the year, Jewish calendar, maybe that'll lead to 34 AD. Jesus died at 34 AD. But I'm going to go with the math of the decree being made 457 BC, and then using the numbers that I know are fact, which is 490 years after that. All right, which brings us to Jesus starting his missionary at age 27 AD and dying either at age 30 or 31. All right, and then the other 3.5 years, 34 BC, 34 AD, Stephen getting stoned. So I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go with that. You know what I mean? Like that. That's what I'm gonna go with. And like I said, like if anybody has any questions or like wants to have their input, like, hey, I heard this, or I believe it's the Antichrist, when he gives the 7-year peace treaty and then decides halfway through, like, hey, we're not going to do it after all, you know. But I'm going to say, after reading this, me personally, I'm going to say, as Jesus Christ dying on the cross, 3.5 years into the 70th year of Daniel, the 70 weeks of Daniel, and then the other 3.5 is uh, Stephen getting stoned, right? But I do want to leave out there that last 3.5 years, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't think it can't be wrong that Jesus died on the cross halfway through the 70th week. Like that cannot be wrong. Halfway into it, that can't be wrong. Jesus died 3.5 years into the 70th week, and then the other 3.5 years, like it could be Stephen getting stoned, or it can be something that hasn't happened yet. All right. So I'm gonna leave it at that. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? I know I got on here pretty late. I've been trying to get on here like all day. To be honest, I've been trying to get on here like all weekend, but I try to reserve my Sunday to just be in prayer and just the word. I like to listen to my sermons. I like to listen to like 3 different churches. I like to listen, you know what I mean? Like, so on Sunday, I really just try to like be in prayer. A lot of times I like to put content out there, but sometimes you just really got to bring it in for yourself. Like really just worship, pray, read your word for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you know what? I need time for me and God. Like I just need, and I try to choose Sunday to do that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna post maybe old video or something simple. I might just schedule a post for Sunday because on Sunday I really don't like to be distracted mentally, and my heart. I really don't want to be distracted because it does take a lot to do this. Like it takes a lot, and I'm like, nope. Sunday, I really just want to make it me and God, and just be in prayer, be in worship, and just be thankful that for life, every day, just in general. So that's for me. I feel like that's gonna let me push through on this for the long run. All right, so that's literally like that's how I'm thinking. That's my goal. Like that's just like, hey, I'm thinking long term, and if I want to do this long term, like I really got to be in prayer, especially on Sunday. Not just Sunday, but throughout the week, and then just put content out there. I really enjoy this, and I really plan on doing this, like, hopefully one day full time. Like, man, that would be outstanding. I tell my wife, man, one day I'm gonna do this full time. But for now, I'm just gonna, hey, I'm gonna read the word regardless. Like, we should all be reading the word regardless, no matter what. And I just like to share. So, if anybody has any questions, anything they want me to read, feel free to let me know, man. Anything you want me to read, whether you could comment it now or later, like, hey, I would like you to go over these verses. All right. So let me see. Let's just go to, I'm going to start reading chapter 10. In the third year of Cyrus, king of Persia, a message was revealed to Daniel, whose name was called Belshazzar. So remember, Daniel, they changed his name to Belshazzar when he was in Babylon. They tried to change his identity. Hey, from now on, your name's going to be Belshazzar. Like, all right. The message was true, but the appointed time was long, and he understood the message and had understanding of the vision. In those days, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. So Daniel's going to be fasting here. All right. So Daniel chapter 10, verse 2. So Daniel is like feeling super weak. He's going to get an extreme vision here. He's going to get a vision. Like, all right. So we're just going to go right to it. In those days, Daniel, was mourning 3 full weeks. He's mourning. He knows he's supposed to go home sometime soon. All right. Because it was prophesied that Jesus was going to have him in exile for 70 years in Babylon. And those 70 years are about to come up. And Daniel is just like, man, like, what is going, like, could it be wrong? Like, what's going on? Like, he's getting homesick pretty much. All right. I ate no pleasant food, no meat or wine came into my mouth, nor did I anoint myself at all till 3 whole weeks were fulfilled. So he's just complete fasting and prayer. Now, on the 24th day of the first month, so 24th day of the first month, that could be said maybe January 24th, as I was by the side of the great river, that is the Tigris River. You can look that up on your geography calendar. There is such thing as a Tigris River. I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold and upshot. All right, so here's another debate here. Y'all want another debate that I was just going back and forth in my mind and my heart and just trying to figure this out. So this description sounds like Jesus Christ. I actually made a video like claiming that was Jesus Christ. And then I just kept looking into it and looking into it, and it's very close as description of Jesus Christ. So in Revelation, Jesus is described as he has fire in his eyes. All right. He has fire in his eyes. That is a huge description. That's kind of like a giveaway. All right. So I'm just gonna read through it and just tell me if it sounds like Jesus Christ. Just let me know. Like, does this sound like Jesus Christ? Spoiler, it possibly could not be. And a lot of people don't think it is. They think it's an angel. All right. I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen. So there's a man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of uphod. I guess that's a fabric, I guess, or something. But it was a waist was girded with, so a waist with gold. So so he has linen and his waist of gold. His body was like beryl, Beryl. His face like the appearance of lightning. So very powerful appearance, like lightning. All right. His eyes like torches of fire. So to me, that sounds like Jesus. Eyes like torches of fire. Because in Revelation, that's the description. His eyes were like fire. And he says here, his arms and feet like burnished bronze in color, burnished bronze, and the sound of his words like the voice of a multitude. All right, it says like a multitude. So his voice was very strong. That it sounds like Jesus right here. It very much like sounds like Jesus. But then we're gonna see his actions, and his actions are gonna kind of give it like maybe that's not Jesus. All right, so here we go. 7. And I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the man who were with me. So everybody fled that was around him, did not see the vision, but a great terror fell upon them, so that they fled to hide themselves. So when this person came in, the angel or Jesus, everybody fled. There was terror. All right. In the Old Testament, when God shows his presence, like, it's actually fearful. All right, that's with Moses, in the time of Moses. 8. Therefore I was left alone when I saw this great vision, and no strength remained in me, for my vigor was turned to frailty in me, and I retained no strength. So he was feeling super weak. All right, so he's about to see his vision, and he's feeling super, super weak. All right, yet I heard the sound of his words, and when I heard the sound of his words, I was in deep sleep and on my face with my face to the ground. So he's in a deep sleep, like he's pretty much like laid out, like he's just completely out of it, going through a vision. Now, on a side note, I want to say when I had my heavenly experience, when I, you know, gave my life to Christ, like I was so weak. I was so weak and I had like an experience. And when I woke up, I was like, Jesus is real. God is real. All right. So here we go. It sounds very similar. I'm actually gonna, yeah, I'm gonna go off that later on something else. All right. So here we go. 10. So we're on Daniel chapter 10, verse 10. Suddenly a hand touched me, and which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hand. And he said to me, O Daniel, man greatly beloved, understand the word that I speak to you, and stand upright, for I have now been sent to you. All right, so still, we kind of think this is Jesus. We saw the description. His eyes were like fire. All right, now we're going to see his actions. While he was speaking these words, I stood trembling. Then he said to me, do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. So it says, your words were heard. Hey, when you pray, your words are heard. Your words are not going anywhere, like they are being heard. So it says here, to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard. It says here, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. So this angel or Jesus has came because of his words. Prayer is important to pray. Talk to God. Your words are being heard. All right. Angels are real. There is so much clarification in the Bible that angels are real. All right. And we might not see them, but they are real. And it says here, your words have been heard this whole time. Like since the first day, your words have been heard. It says it right here, Daniel chapter 10, verse 12. All right, 13. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. So this is what tells us that this might not be Jesus Christ. This is huge. So far we think this is Jesus. All the way until we go to 13, this doesn't sound like Jesus. So it sounds like maybe an angel. It says, but the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. Like, pretty much occupied for the last 21 days with the prince of Persia. Like, hey, I've been meaning to come to you, but, I kind of had a struggle for the last 21 days. So does that sound like Jesus? Like, that's kind of what gives it away. Like, that kind of doesn't sound like Jesus. Like, he struggled with the prince of Persia. Huh. Withstood me 21 days. And behold, Michael, which an angel, one of the chief princes, princes, came to help me. So he needed help from an angel. So that does not sound like Jesus. That's what kind of gives it away. But the description sounds like Jesus. His eyes were like fire, which is the same description in Revelation. It's very easy to get that mixed up. All right. So if you do your research on this, some people might say like, "Hey, that was Jesus right there because of the eyes of the fire." But when we see the description, he was withstood and he needed help from an angel. That does not sound like Jesus. He needed help from another angel. All right. So it says here, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me, for I had been left alone there with the king of Persia. So he needed help. 14. Now I have come to make you understand what will happen to your people. So, anywho, now I'm going to tell you the vision now. For your people in the latter days, for the vision refers to many days yet to come. So, he's saying, I'm about to give you a huge vision for many days to come. Like, I'm about to lay out pretty much the next, let's say, 500 years. Like, man, that's crazy. Like, the next 500 years, like, I'm about to give you a vision here. You might not even understand it. Like, would you be able to understand if you knew what's going to happen in the next 500 years? You probably wouldn't. Everything would have transformed by then. The world would have been a lot different. All right, 15. When he had spoken such words to me, I turned my face towards the ground and became speechless. And suddenly, one having the likeness of the Son of Man touched my lips. Then I opened my mouth and spoke, saying to him who stood before me, My Lord, because of the vision, my sorrows have overwhelmed me, and I have retained no strength. So, going through the vision, Daniel lost a lot of strength, like retained no strength, became weak. And something very repetitive in the Bible is when you get visions, you actually become very, very weak. And, like John had it in Revelation, he became very weak. All right, he didn't want to go forward with the vision. Like, no, that's too much. Like make it stop, make the vision stop. So be careful what you pray for. You pray for visions. Hey, they can be hard to take in. All right, 17. For how can this servant of my Lord talk with you? My Lord, as for me, no strength remains in me now, nor is any breath left in me. So super weak, I could barely even breathe. Then again, the one having the likeness of a man touched me and strengthened me. So he was touched, and all of a sudden he was redeemed. Like his strength went up. That could have been an angel. All right. And he said, Oh man, greatly beloved, fear not. So remember that a man touched me and strengthened me. Remember, there's debate whether that's Jesus or that's an angel. All right. Again, I'm gonna say that again. That could either be Jesus or an angel because he struggled with the Prince of Persia. Therefore, that could not have been Jesus. 19. And he said, Oh man, greatly beloved, fear not. To you, be strong. Yes, be strong. So when he spoke to me, I was strengthened and said, Let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. Then he said, Do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed, the prince of Greece will come. So, like, hey, I'm going to say this and I'm going to go to Persia. And just so you know, the prince of Greece will come as well. All right. So we're getting close to Alexander the Great. All right. Just FY, we're like, this is a lot of prophecy here. Like, hey, we got Persia and then we got Greece. He says here, the prince of Persia. Now, if you look up Alexander the Great's history, who did he take over? He took over Persia, right? So I have gone forth indeed. So let's read this again. And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. So the prince of Persia is in office pretty much. And when I have gone forth, indeed the prince of Greece will come. So who's next after Persia? Greece. Who's with Greece? Alexander the Great. Um, so after Persia is going to be Greece. But I will tell you what is noted in the scripture of truth. No one upholds me against these except Michael your prince, Michael the angel. Also, in the first year of Darius the Mede, I stood up to confirm and strengthen him. And now I will tell you, so we're on 11 now. And now I will tell you the truth. Behold, three more kings will arise. So now we're talking about kings here. We're talking about three more kings will arise in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than them all. The fourth one will be rich. All right. So now, like I said, this is vision. He's going to give them a whole bunch of vision, a whole bunch of prophecy. A matter of fact, four kings. The fourth shall be far richer than them all. So just know the fourth one's going to be super rich. Rich. All right. He shall stir up all against the realm of Greece. Here goes Greece again. Like I said, we're getting close to Alexander the Great. All right. Against the realm of Greece. Then a mighty king shall rise, who shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. So a great king's gonna rise, and he's pretty much gonna do whatever he wants. Like he's just gonna rise and dominate. And when he has arisen, his kingdom shall be broken up and divided towards the four winds of heaven, but not among his posterity, nor according to his dominion, in which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be uprooted, even for others besides these. So right there it says, and when he broken up and divided towards the four winds of heaven, but not among the apostles. So I do know that Alexander the Great's kingdom was divided between four. nation. It was divided into four. All right. So I do know that. So is that is that a relevance? But here we go. We're on 11, verse 5. Also, the king of the south shall become strong, as well as one of his prince, and he shall gain power over him and have dominion. His dominion shall be great dominion, shall be a great dominion. So, going to be great. And at the end of some years, they shall join forces, for the daughter of the king of the south shall go to the king of the north to make an agreement, but she shall not retain the power of her authority, and neither he nor his authority shall stand, but he shall be given up those who brought her, and with him who begot her, and with him who strengthened her in those times. So we go 7. But from a branch of her roots, one shall arise in his place. So it's just kingdoms coming up and down, right? Who's strong, who's rich. So we're just talking about kingdoms here. But from a branch of her roots, one shall rise in his place, who shall come with an army, enter the fortress of the king of the north, and deal with them and prevail. And he shall also carry their gods captive to Egypt with their prince and their precious uh, artises of silver, gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So we're talking about a king of the north and a king of the south. Also, the king of the north shall come to the kingdom of the king of the south, but shall return to his own land. So there's a king in the north and a king in the south. However, his son shall stir up strife and assemble multitudes of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overwhelm and pass through. Then he shall return to his fortress and stir up strife. 11. And the king of the south shall be moved with rage and go out and fight with him, with the king of the north, who shall muster great multitudes, but the multitude shall be given in the hand of the enemy. So again, we're just going back and forth. The king of the north, the king of the south. It was Gabriel from chapter 9. Let me see. Chapter 9. Um, yeah, that's that was my assumption. It was Gabriel. Let me see, 7 weeks, Jerusalem, and after 6. All right, so I know he's talking to Gabriel, and then we go into. So yeah, so that was my assumption. It was like, okay, yeah, sounds like Gabriel, sounds like an angel for sure. It sounds like Jesus, but isn't quite Jesus. And then they mentioned Michael, so I'm like, okay, so it's not Michael, so it has to be Gabriel. The story must have kept continuing, and it's like, all right. And so to me, I was thinking like, yeah, it's either Gabriel, it's an angel for sure. So I'm thinking like, yeah, it's like Gabriel. I wish it was more specific, to be honest. Like I really wish it was more specific. But to me, it sounded like it was Gabriel because I can't really say it was anybody else, another angel. I just know Gabriel, and it wasn't Michael. So yeah, so I would say the same thing. It was Gabriel. It was Gabriel from chapter 9. All right. So just a bunch of kings from the north and the south. There's a huge fight going on. All right. We'll return to muster. All right. Now let me see. So the king of the north shall come and build a siege mound, but he comes against him shall do according to his own will, and no one shall stand. All right. So a strong king, he shall turn his face to the 18 coastland and shall take many, but a ruler shall bring the reproach against them to an end, and with reproach remove. So it's just the king of the north and king of the south, kingdoms. Uh, Let me see. Let's go. He shall destroy, but not. All right, so here we go. 19. Then he shall turn his face towards the fortress of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. There shall rise in his place one who imposes taxes. So somebody who imposes taxes sounds like Rome on the glorious kingdom. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, but not in anger or in battle. So he shall be destroyed, but not in anger or battle. He'll be destroyed, but not in anger or battle. So that's something to consider. And in his place shall rise a vile person, whom they will not give the honor of royalty, but he shall come in peaceful and seize the kingdom of intrigue. So he'll come in peace, very peaceful, and intrigue the kingdom by intrigue. With the force of a flood, they shall be swept away from before him and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. So to me, that sounds like the Antichrist, the prince of the covenant. All right. Again, like I had that Like I said on Daniel, was it 10? No, Daniel 9, the prince of the covenant. There's a covenant. All right. So I know the Antichrist has a covenant. Like that I do know. And here it go, broken, and also the prince of the covenant before him and be broken. So the prince of the covenant. To me, that sounds like the Antichrist. Prince of the covenant. Again, that could either be the Antichrist or that can be Jesus. Prince of the covenant. Let me read that again. 22. With the force of a flood, they shall be swept away from before him and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. And after the league is made with him, he shall act deceitfully. So that sounds like the Antichrist. Act deceitfully, for he shall come up and become strong with a small number. So a small sounds like the Roman Empire. Sounds like Rome. All right. Small number of people. For one, it's small, and he shall rise up. All right. So a kingdom is going to rise up from being small, and he's just going to rise up. Pretty much, he's going to play politics on his way up. All right. He's going to rise up through politics. That's pretty much what's going to happen here. It says after his league made with him, because he's not going to overtake anybody. He has a small number of people. Become strong with a small number of people. All right, so that sounds like the Antichrist. So again, I'm gonna read 22 and 23 again. With the force of a flood, they shall be swept away from before him and be broken, and also the prince of the covenant. Prince of the covenant sounds like the Antichrist. All right, and after the league is made with him, he shall act deceitfully. Confirms that's the Antichrist. For he shall come up and become strong with a small number of people. So the Antichrist is literally like history, like it's ongoing. You know, spoiler might be Rome, Roman Empire. You know, Pope. You know, that's the biggest, I guess, suggestion. The biggest assumption that I've heard like is that it's the Pope and the Roman Empire. You know, the Roman Empire didn't die; it kind of just faded, and but it's still ongoing. Like the Roman, like the Pope and everything, and it's small numbers. Rome. Like, and after the league is made with him, he shall act deceitfully. That is huge. Act deceitfully. That is huge, man. Especially these days, act deceitfully, like just tricking people and just like coming off as nice and I'm trying to help you, but really I'm not trying to help you. I'm trying to help myself. That is huge, man. So in these days, like we need to watch out for that. 24, he shall enter peacefully. So he's gonna enter like I'm all peace. I'm about the peace. Remember, he's going to sign a peace treaty for 7 years, and halfway through it, he's going to pretty much trash it, which is why people get chapter 10 confused with, Jesus, 3.5 years, which Jesus died 3.5 years into the last 7 years. And then what happened in the other 3.5 years? So people get that confused again. And here's another mention of it. He shall enter peacefully, even into the richest places of the province, and he shall do what his fathers have not done, nor his forefathers. He shall disperse among them the plunder, spoil, and riches, and he shall devise his plan against the strongholds, but only for a time. So it's a huge plot going. 25, he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. And he shall not stand, for they shall devise plans against him. So, war against the south. We got to find out who's the south. Yes, those who eat of the portion of the delicacies shall destroy him. His army shall be swept away, and many shall fall down slain. Both these kings' hearts shall be bent on evil. So there's an evil war. All right, that's what's going on here. So the north and the south, it's going to be a war of evil. It says, both these kings' hearts shall be bent on evil, and they shall speak lies at the same table. Jeez. So this is prophecy. This is going to be crazy. But it shall not prosper, for the end will still be at the appointed time. So no matter what, the end is going to be the end. God knows what the end is going to be. So there's going to be two armies completely evil. And it says here, they shall speak lies at the same table, but it shall not prosper. That's crazy. That's a lot. 28. While returning to his land with great riches, his heart shall be moved against the holy covenant. Against the holy covenant. So it's going to be against God. His heart shall be moved against the holy covenant. So he shall do damage and return to his own land. So that sounds like he's going to change his mind. rich, his heart shall be moved. Like, hey, I'm about the peace. All right, I'm about the holy covenant. Yeah, I'm all about it. And then kind of change your mind halfway in. His heart shall be moved against the holy covenant. Like, you know what? I'm starting to change my mind. You know what I mean? That's what it sounds like. And that's what happens in the peace treaty. 3.5 years in, he changes his mind, trashes it, and hey, you know that peace treaty we signed? Like, so yeah. All right. Anybody got questions? Anything? Hey man, thank you for being on. All right. Turn to his own land. All right. 29, the northern kings of blasphemy. All right, so again, we're talking about the northern king. At the appointed time, he shall return and go towards the south, but it shall not be like a former or the latter. So he'll go back to the south. For the ships of Cyprus shall come against him. Therefore, he shall be grieved and return and rage against the holy covenant and do damage. So he's completely against God, do damage against the holy covenant. Man. So he shall return and show regard for those who forsake the holy covenant. Show regard for those who shall return and show Here's regard. What I found. Jeez. 31. And forces shall be mustered by him, which is like gathered together, and they shall defile and sanctuary fortress. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifice and place their abomination of desolation. Jeez. All right, that is huge. All right, I'm gonna read that again. 31. And forces shall be mustered by him. So everybody together, and they shall defile the sanctuary fortress. Defile the sanctuary. No respect towards God's sanctuary. Defile the sanctuary fortress. Then they shall take away the daily sacrifices and place there the abomination of desolation. Just, jeez. The abomination of desolation. That's like the worst of the worst. Place there the abomination of desolation. So what I want to say that's referring to, let me see, is it referring to, I want to say that's referring to Revelation, right? When he sits on the throne. That's what I want to say that's referring to. The 82nd. You got to really read Revelation and then come back to Daniel and then go back to Revelation and come back to Daniel. Like it's kind of a back and forth. If you really want to study prophecy, Daniel, Revelation, Daniel, Revelation. And then, you read the the Old Testament, the books of the prophets, they'll talk about it as well. And kind of it's all about connecting the dots. So you got to like really know your Bible. You got to really go like back and forth. I don't know why my iWatch is going off. 32. Those who do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery. But the people who know their God shall be strong and carry a great exploit. The key, excuse me, the key is be strong with God. That's the key. If you know God and you're strong with God, you cannot be fooled. All right, just know that you cannot be fooled. You're gonna see right through this. Those who do wickedly against the covenant, he shall corrupt with flattery. Man, if you start doing wickedly, like you're not gonna be able to see this stuff. Like your eyes are gonna be blind. All right, that's why it's very important. Stay strong with God. That way you know right from wrong. You're strong on right and wrong, righteousness, wickedness. You're gonna be strong on it. That's what's important here. But the people who know their God shall be strong and carry out great exploits. And that's why Christians, they're gonna be hated because you're gonna know right from wrong. And no matter what people say, no matter what kind of flattery, anything, you're not gonna be confused. It's not gonna, you know what I mean? So that's why there's gonna be a lot of hate towards Christians because you're like, hey, that's not right. That's wickedness. And like, no, wickedness has turned into righteousness, and then it's going to be a huge thing. So make sure you know what's right and what's wrong and stand up for that. Stand up for righteousness and know what wickedness is and speak against it, And people are not going to like it. When you speak against wickedness, people hate it. Wow. People hate when you speak against wickedness. Jeez. Man, they'll come down on you, man. That's crazy. Like try that. Speak it like see something wicked that's obviously wicked, lies, deceit, like call out people's wicked agendas and they'll get mad, like to another level. Like, whoa, how dare you call wickedness? Man, that is there's so much hate in that, man. That's crazy. But if you know right from wrong, you'll see it and it'll be obvious. You call it out and they'll hate you for it. Jeez. All right, 33. And those of the people who understand shall instruct many, yet for many days they shall fall by the sword and flame by captivity and plunder. Like I was saying, if you know righteousness, you have an understanding, you shall instruct many, yet for many days they shall fall by the. So you're pretty much gonna get killed. You're gonna get slaughtered for speaking righteousness. Like, hey, that's no like we make the law now, not your God. Like that's pretty much what's gonna happen. But if you know righteousness, you're gonna know like this is so wrong. All right, that you're gonna know that. 34. Now when they fall, they shall be aided with a little help, but many shall join with them by intrigue. And some of those of understanding shall fall to refine them, purify them, and make them white until the time of the end, because it's still for the appointed time. All right, so this is huge. And some of those understanding shall fall to refine them, purify them, and make them white until the time of the end, because it is still for the appointed time. So one thing to understand is if you fall standing up for righteousness, you get murdered for standing up for God's righteousness. Like that is huge, right? You're actually rewarded for that. That's actually one of the highest rewards you'll get is, hey, you stood up for God and you got slaughtered for His righteousness. Standing up for His righteousness, you should actually get a white robe. All right, it says some of those understandings shall fall to refine them, purify them. You'll be purified and make them white until the time of the end, because of it, because it is still for the appointed time. So at the very end, like you'll be rewarded on that. All right, 36. Then the king shall do according to his own will. So first we're talking about heavenly things on 35. 36, we're back into the world. Then the king shall do according to his own will. He shall exalt and magnify himself above every God. So this person is going to say, I'm above God. That is, man, like if you can't say like that's wickedness, like that is wickedness, man. Like I am above God. That is straight wickedness. If you ever hear that, you hear somebody say that, somebody that really believes that, like you know what, I'm better than that is straight wickedness. And it's saying here, the king shall do according to his own will, his own, and he shall exalt and magnify himself above every God, shall speak blasphemy against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the wrath has been accomplished. For what has been determined shall be done. So, what are we looking for? Somebody that's going to say they are more powerful than the God of gods. Like, that is something to keep an eye out for. Somebody's going to speak blasphemy and say they are more powerful than God. That's what it's saying here. There's somebody going to say that they are more powerful than God. Then the king shall, according to his own will, he shall exalt and magnify himself above every God. I am above God. Shall speak blasphemy against God, speak bad about God, of gods, and shall prosper till the wrath has been accomplished, for what has been determined shall be done. So that is like, that's wickedness. All right, that is straight wickedness. Speaking bad about God, saying you're above God, like that's something to look out for. All right, so if you see that, that's wickedness. All right. 37. So we are on Daniel chapter 11, verse 37 now. He shall regard neither the God of his fathers nor the desire of woman, nor regard any. So this person is going to be super careless, like no regard for the God of his fathers, nor the desire of woman, nor regard any God, for he shall exalt himself above them all. So he is above every God. Like that's what it's going to be. This is so wicked. 38. But in their place he shall honor a God of fortress, and a God which his fathers did not know. He shall honor with gold and silver and precious stones and pleasant things. So he's going to honor gold, silver, money. Like he's going to be honoring that. Thus he shall act against the strongest fortress with a foreign God, which he shall acknowledge and advance as glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many and divide the land for. So it's just straight wickedness. All right, this is huge. So we're just talking about kingdoms, and we're literally talking about somebody that's super wicked. Northern king of conquest. All right. 40. At the time of the end of the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with a chariot horsemen with many ships, and he shall enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through. He shall enter the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown, but he shall escape from his hand Edom, Moab, and the prominent people of Ammon. He shall stretch out his hand against the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. He shall have power over the treasures of gold, silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. Also, Libyans and Ethiopians shall follow at his heels. But news from the east and the north shall trouble him. Therefore, he shall go out with great fury and destroy and annihilate many. And he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet shall come to his end, and no one will help him. Huh. All right, so I'm just going to tell you, I'm not really sure what that means. It says here, go to Revelation 19:20. To me, it sounds like Jesus, but I don't want to say that, and I don't want to confirm that. Let me just see what 12 says. At the time, Michael shall stand up, the great prince who stands watch over the sons of the people, and there shall be time of trouble, such as there was a nation even at that time. And at the time, your people shall be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book. So that sounds like the happy ending. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. All right, so I want to say that at the end of 11, that's Jesus returning. All right, and I must say that because time of the end, the king of the south shall attack him, and the king of the north shall come against him. So the king of the north, I'm guessing that's Jesus. King of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, chariots, horsemen with many ships. I guess Jesus' army enter the countries, overwhelm them, and pass through like nothing. This evil person, he's gonna pass through this evil person. He shall also enter the glorious land, Israel, and many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape from his hand. Edom, Moab, and the prominent people of Ammon, people in Israel. He shall stretch out his hand against the countries and the land of Egypt, neighbor, and shall not escape. He shall have power over the treasures of gold, silver, so he'll have power over everything. Also, the Libyans and Ethiopians shall follow the hills, but news from the east and the north shall trouble and the north shall trouble him. Therefore, he shall go out with a great fury, destroy and annihilate many, and he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountains. Yet shall come. So to me, that sounds like when Jesus rules. All right, when Jesus comes to rule for 1,000 years. So that's what it sounds like. All right, he's gonna come with his ships, his chariots, everything. He's pretty much gonna camp out. Like he's pretty much gonna set camp in the glorious land of Israel. So to me, that's what that sounds like. All right. Now I would have to listen to a sermon or I would have to do more research to confirm that. But to me, that's what it sounds like. That sounds like Jesus coming back post tribulation. After the Antichrist has done everything he came to do, after all that happens, um, Jesus comes back like, all right, enough is enough. He takes over, and so to me, that's what that sounds like. He shall have power over the treasures, gold and silver. But he shall plant the tents of his palace between the seas and the glorious holy mountain, yet shall come to the end, and no one shall. All right. I'm gonna try to wrap this up. I'm about to hit 1 hour on here. I'm about to wrap it up. I'll be posting more content as I go. All right. Thank you very much for just. If you got any questions, anything, I am open. If you have any messages, anything at any time, hey, I am available. If you comment to any of my videos, I will reply. All right. I will reply to any comments. Actually decided to do that starting today. So if you comment or if you have any questions, I will get back to you. All right. At some point, as long as I don't get flooded later on, whatever, like if I get flooded with a thousand comments or something, I'll try to get to them as best I can. But if you comment on my stuff at any time, I will get back to you. All right. If you have any questions, I will get back to you. I will try to get back to you no matter what. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you for just listening. And that was, man, that was all the way through Daniel 12. How much more Daniel? I got one more chapter of Daniel left. Actually, like half a page left. All right, and then we'll be done with Daniel. Daniel was 12 chapters. Man, the book of Daniel was tough. I'm not gonna lie. It starts off very easy with the visions and him interpreting visions. It starts off easy, but once he goes into having visions revealed to him, then that's when it's like, whoa, like is this past, present? Like, did this happen already? And it takes a lot of study. I'm not gonna lie, like it was pretty tough. So the book of Daniel and Revelation. If you're gonna study Daniel, especially starting with like chapter 8 up, I would suggest Revelation, back and forth, back and forth. If you really want to do a homework, like I would strongly recommend Daniel and Revelation. If you want to learn prophecy, learn your prophecy. Jesus will come back. Right? Jesus will come back. It's said over and over on here. We're in the Old Testament, and it's already talking about Jesus. Jesus is over here. So just imagine when Jesus finally steps on earth, like that is a huge deal because there's all this over here, like pretty much foreshadowing Jesus Christ coming here on earth to save his people. Like that is huge. So by the time you go into the New Testament, like that's a huge deal. It's like, man, Jesus is finally here. We read the Old Testament, it prophesies Jesus, he's gonna come, die for our sins, and it's like you go into the New Testament and like, man, he's here. And what's crazy is, so Jesus is over here in the New Testament, and to be honest, he's only on earth. I mean, you read the Gospels, he goes Luke, all the way to the book of Acts, and there's like Jesus is only on earth until like this much right here in the Bible. So Jesus on earth, like this is like the testimony of Jesus Christ, like right here, out of the whole Bible. So Jesus Christ is here, right here, walking this earth. And then the rest of the Bible, which is this right here, is the testimony of Jesus Christ. And then we got Revelation, and so there's so much, man. Like we're building up to Jesus Christ coming, right? His first coming. So from here all the way until Jesus Christ comes in the New Testament, we're building up to that. Like we're just building up, building up. And then finally Jesus Christ comes, he dies for our sins. And then now we talk about the testimony of Jesus Christ dying for our sins. All right. So we can be saved. That is huge, man. So man, I like this is real. I'm telling you, this is real. Like the word is real, it's accurate. Man, like there's just so much in here. Like there's so much. It's important. Know your prophecy. Know that Jesus Christ is coming on earth. Like I mean, Jesus Christ is coming back to save his church. All right, he's coming back. He came the first time. He said he would come the first time. He came. He left. He said he'll be back. In the New Testament, he says that he is preparing mansions. Like, hey, I would not tell you that I'm preparing mansions if I wasn't doing so. He does say that. He's preparing a home for us in heaven. All right, what do we do here on earth? We get treasures, earn treasures, talk about the word of God. All right, get people saved, earn treasures here in heaven, for your treasures are in heaven. All right, where they do not rot, they do not spoil, they do not get rusty. No, your treasures are in heaven. So one goal to have in life, well, forever is get treasures in heaven. You want your treasures in heaven. So if you're not rich here on earth, or you don't have, hey, get your riches in heaven, man. Like that's huge. That is huge, man. Like there's so much, man. There's so much to learn. And like I said, this is like we gotta live this. Like this is prophecy has already been given to us. All right. It's a matter of, do we have faith in it? Do we believe that it's gonna happen? And to be honest, after all the research I've done, like it's going to happen. All right. It is consistent, it is accurate, and there's no other book like it. There's no other person like it. Nothing. Nothing matches up to the Bible at all. All right. I guarantee you that. All right. If anybody has any comments, anything, I would like to hear them. All right. Thank you very much. And I'm going to wrap it up. All right. I got to go take care of my daughter. She's 2 year old. My wife is with her. I'm going to go help her out. All right. Thank you very much. And God bless y'all. Good night. And I'll see ya. All right.